welcome to another episode with the Aliens and Cowboys team. I am Nate, possibly your least favorite host, and I drew the short stick today to do another introduction, so here I am. With that, we're talking about 5 different movies. We're trying to remember if these were as bad now as when we watched them back then.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll dive in. Thank you for that introduction, Nate. That was really great.
We did this for you to have a bigger role, Nate.
Yeah.
You owned it. Good job. All right, Joe, take it away.
We'll hop in, as usual, a couple of quick pop culture things. Pretty exciting if they actually can get around to making this movie about Metal Gear Solid. Did you guys see this?
I did.
Yeah.
I did not.
Some casting rumors. I think they're probably starting the script writing process. Pretty early is my point. I don't even know if they have a script yet for this or not. That being said, an actor who's kind of thrown his hat in the ring to play Solid Snake is Oscar Isaac. Most recently, of course, from what many of our listeners probably know him from, he plays Poe Dameron in the newest Star Wars movies. I think he does a great job in that role. Yep. As Solid Snake, this would be a very gritty, very violent role, and something that I certainly think he could portray. I know he's had some pretty intense roles in other films, of course, as well. What do you guys think about that, though? Nothing set in stone yet. This is purely speculation at this point.
I'd watch a Metal Gear Solid movie.
I never played the game. I think, Nate, you had the game, a couple versions of the game when you were growing up. I never did, so I can't say I was I wasn't a fan. I just know that there was the older version of him, right, as gray beard, goatee, or whatever it is, still has the eye patch. And kind of before we started this, I told you he reminded me of Mads Mikkelsen from that movie on Netflix called Polar, I think.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like when I see this retired hitman with the patch and the grayish mane, it just kind of reminds me of like that look. So I don't really have a opinion on the movie. I don't really even know what's the game even about.
Gosh, that's a rabbit hole of a question, to be honest with you. There's... Oh, go ahead.
You called him Solid Snake.
Yeah.
So is that Solid Snake as opposed to any other state of being?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Okay.
There's all kinds of snakes, if you will. There's a liquid snake.
Yep, there's a liquid snake.
But they have, like, kind of special powers that are somewhat based realistically in technology, maybe? Is a good way to put it?
I would agree. It's got, a lot of cool things for a stealth gameplay. It's got intrigue, espionage. A lot of the gameplay is based around how stealthy you can be to take out your opponents. They've got mechs. They've got magic. They've got technology. Translating this to the big screen for a film, if done successfully, could be really cool. So I hope they get this one right. I know video game to movie adaptations are notoriously difficult to do. It's kind of a lose-lose in a lot of ways, I think. You're obviously struggling to adapt very popular topics to the big screen. So you have a group of potential fans who might not even know what the source material is, and then you have the group of core fans from the video games who are looking for very specific things to be represented in the movie. I think it's a tough thing to pull off, and I think that's why it's been so difficult to do so with video game to big screen adaptations. But in regard to who would play him, Oscar Isaac would be great. Another one I've seen out there is Jon Bernthal from The Walking Dead, most recently in Punisher, of course. I think he would certainly bring a lot of gravitas to the role in terms of a gritty, stealthy super soldier of sorts. Does he have the look? Maybe not, based on the video game character that we know, but I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah, I guess I can see Oscar Isaac. I don't know if I can see Jon Bernthal doing it. He just seems more of like a not so much stealthy as much as like in your face, just shooting everybody up. Yeah. Obviously, since the last time we saw him, he's basically just killing everybody.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of Oscar Isaac. I think he's really a good up and coming. I don't want to say up and coming actor, but I think he's done a lot of really good things lately.
Yeah, I agree. He's got, he's in a new Netflix.
Yeah, there's some Netflix movie coming out. I don't remember the name of it. It comes out, I want to say March 13th.
Yeah,
so like next week. It's got Ben Affleck. It's got Charlie Hunnam. It's got Oscar Isaac. It's got Garrett Hedlund, and it's got, I'm trying to think of who the fifth one is. There's a fifth guy too.
Yeah,
and it's just a weird cast of people that are going to be doing essentially either like a heist movie or like an espionage thriller of some kind. And it's just kind of a straight to Netflix film, which is just, it's an interesting cast of people.
Yeah.
That's a funny term they use, straight to Netflix film, when it used to be a straight to video film.
Right. Well, speaking of Netflix, Spielberg.
Yeah,
Spielberg, since you brought this up, Nate, straight to Netflix. Spielberg is having a kind of an argument with Netflix, and he does not believe Netflix films should be up for Oscars. That these are movies that should stay to Emmy Awards. What do you guys think of that? Is Spielberg just being kind of old and crotchety, or does he kind of have the right idea with the tradition of the Oscars?
I don't know what the difference is.
Fair enough. Yeah, and Garrett, I had to consult you about the difference, actually, when you brought this up to me previously. Oscars are film.
Correct.
Emmys is television.
Correct.
Is that the primary
I
distinction?
believe so. I mean, okay. Somebody out there could tell me that there's Emmy Award-winning movies, too, and that could be, as far as I'm aware, Emmys are TV show, and then Oscars are film. But what's interesting is Scorsese has a movie coming out. I want to say it's called The Irishman. It stars Pacino, De Niro, Pesci. He's going to have a limited release in theater, but release it to Netflix, and they do that so they can get the Oscar attempt by releasing it in some theaters, from my understanding.
Yeah, it's kind of their workworkaround, I think. They
can
be like, it was in some theaters, so...
Yeah, a very, very limited release, but then it can get, 40 million views or whatever it is out there.
Go ahead.
No, it's just kind of an interesting thing because, Spielberg's not making Netflix movies, so understanding that he's at risk to get beat out every year because the popularity and the availability to watch a Netflix film can increase the audience interpretation of it versus if you go to a movie. Like, for instance, what was that Bird Box movie?
Yeah.
It seemed something by like 40 million people.
Astronomical number of people.
Yeah, I mean, just huge amounts. That if that had been to theaters, that could have been out of the theater in 2 weeks.
Who votes on Oscars?
I have no idea.
Film critics.
Yeah.
And the Screen Actors Guild stuff is by the actors and people in the industry themselves?
Yeah, so professional critics, not like us.
People hacks.
Yeah, people that have seen all the AFI Top 100 movies. It's kind of the prerequisite. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the fact that Netflix has to go through this workaround to try and get their movies in a couple theaters so their work essentially, well, it's not Netflix's work per se, but the movies that are being shown on Netflix can get the credit they're due. I think the fact they even have to do that to be recognized is silly. If it's a quality movie, who cares if it came out on Netflix? If it's a quality film, it should be allowed to be considered for the same type of awards that any other quality film is up for, essentially recognition, whether that be released widespread in theaters or whether you can view it easily from your home on your favorite streaming service.
Well, let's be fair, too. And I like to consider myself, or at least previously, a big movie buff. I don't find the time or really make the time to go see the Oscar-nominated movies anymore. Like, the movies are like Best Picture nominees. I don't remember the last time. I can't name the last nominee I saw that was Big Picture in the last couple of years. There's nothing that I'm going to the theater for to see. Like, I'm really kind of, unfortunately, going to see blockbuster films. You know what I mean? The once every couple months we make it to one movie. We kind of enjoy it. And, whether it's a Marvel film, a Star Wars film,
exactly
something like that. So,
and that's kind of where I approach it from too. Regardless of how great the movie's supposed to be, a lot of the movies up for Oscars, up for awards, I don't seek out to see in theaters. We kind of touched on this a while back, a few episodes ago, regarding blockbusters.
Yep.
And those are movies I enjoy seeing. I like the spectacle of it. If I'm going to a theater specifically to see a movie, then I want it to be something that you almost experience in that sense. Over-the-top action, whether it's maybe sweeping landscapes in a movie that has beautiful scenery. Yeah, I'll try to make an effort to go see that, but I'm still going to enjoy it, honestly, just as much from my couch on Netflix.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. I didn't see, I think Green Book won Best Picture this year.
Yeah, I believe it did.
I don't think you need to see that in the theater. I think you could see it on a big screen TV and it's going to have the same effect. I think seeing and I'm not saying, please don't take this as Avengers Infinity War needs to win Best Picture, because it doesn't. But that is a movie that you definitely experience more out of seeing in the theater with the surround sound and the large screen and the quality of picture versus the Green Book. And again, that's not to knock the Green Book. I didn't see it, so I'm not saying it's a bad film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I'm just saying that's a film that I feel like I could put in on my DVD player at my TV and make the same experience.
Yeah, I'm feeling like it's a genre issue too. It's like you don't go to a big theater to watch a drama necessarily. You go there to watch an action film for the technical aspects where you're getting the sound blast in your face and a huge screen. So
exactly,
dramas you can watch at home and Go watch the blockbusters in the theater.
Nate doesn't want people to see him crying in public for the dramas when he sees them, so he watches them by himself. Anything else, Joe?
Yeah, just really quick. All of you know I'm a big Hellboy fan. Second trailer drop for the upcoming Hellboy movie. I especially want to bring this up because, boy, marketing team for that movie should have led with this one. I think a lot of the concerns people had from the first trailer, which I still thought was a lot of fun. It looks like it'll be a fun movie. But the serious tone that they kept talking about they were going to be using for this film, this trailer seems to better convey that than the first. So It's a great trailer. Go check it out. I definitely think they're getting their point across a little bit better with this trailer for what they're wanting their movie to be.
Okay.
Yep.
Brie Larson, Captain Marvel comes out this Friday.
Woo!
Check her out.
It does. That's right.
And that's why you do the intros, Nate. Okay. All right, quick question. I had some listener feedback.
All right.
This listener wanted us to do an entire review of the movie Twilight. And I instructed her that would not be happening. But she wanted to know if, first off, has anybody seen Twilight? I know Nate's seen Twilight, and that's a long-running joke between the two of us.
Oh,
Nate's a big
nice.
fan.
You've seen more of them than I have.
Nate's a big fan. Joe, you have not seen it.
I have not seen it. I have not read it. So what you gentlemen are about to talk about, I'm going to take a step back, actually.
Nate, the question is, are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me. I was ready for this one. Edward.
Same here.
Yeah.
Why are you Team Edward?
Vampires are way more powerful in that universe.
See, I just...
Oh, okay. Are they? I don't know. See, like if we had...
I can't tell if Joe's being sarcastic and playing dumb or...
So let's put it this way, Joe. This is a love triangle between this lady, Kristen Stewart, and Robert Pattinson, and what's the other guy's name?
Is it Taylor something?
Taylor Lautner. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So one's a vampire, one's a werewolf. They're not lichens like the really cool werewolf lichen movie, right?
Exactly.
Underworld.
Yeah.
These are werewolf, like actual wolves, just like look like really large wolves from like Game of Thrones. Like
gotcha, like a big old direwolf looking.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I've seen the trailer, so I have a general idea.
Yeah, we'll put that on your list to watch.
Yeah.
Anyways,
definitely.
it's just a love It's a love triangle. I didn't read the book, so I don't know how more in depth it is. The film, though, I don't ever actually think there's really a triangle. I don't think there's ever that she goes with Jacob and has this relationship with Jacob that she has with Edward. I agree, Team Edward.
I guess 100%. We'll have to ask our listener.
Yeah, she'll be excited about this. She wanted us to cover that. So apologies for that. Again, we will not be covering that movie in case you are listening, listener. Next part, did you guys see the Game of Thrones trailer?
I did. I just watched it before I came over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Looks awesome.
I'm going to have to watch it after this.
You didn't watch it?
No, I didn't watch it.
So, other Game of Thrones news. They have come out and said the final battle is going to be the longest continuous battle in cinema history, topping Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings 2 Towers at the end. It's going to be over 40 minutes long. Thoughts?
I am excited. I have not seen all of the series yet. I'm going to try my best, you guys. We have some future episodes planned, and I'm going to do my darndest to get through the seasons of Game of Thrones that I have not seen yet.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm excited for it. The epically long battle sequences, I am there for that.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So, as Joe was alluding to, we are planning to cover an episode review per episode of the new season of Game of Thrones. Even though we know that the show will be on Sunday nights, the episodes, we will still record our normal episode on Wednesday night, so you'll get our review, our opinion. There'll be no spoilers because we didn't read the books, so we're not taking the time to do that. So it's just our thoughts on the episodes. Leading up to that, though, in the next few weeks, we're going to put together an episode or two on our thoughts on the series as a whole up to where we're at, kind of debate some themes, debate some characters. It's probably going to be some longer episodes, but we have some pretty hot takes on that. I'm currently rewatching the series for, I want to say, probably the third time.
Oh, nice.
And I'm liking new characters that I didn't like before. I have some really interesting viewpoints on who I think is really to blame for a lot of the problems. So we'll come to that with you guys in the next upcoming few weeks here. Last one, Joe, this one's for you.
Oh, sweet.
On Twitter the other day, wouldn't you know, there was a guy who started trending to try to re-examine the legacy of 2002's Master and Commander.
Yes!
Now, I clicked into this because I had no idea what this idiot was talking about.
He sounds like a scholar.
Yeah, this is his tweet. Watching Master and Commander, and so far it's pretty accurately shows how Napoleonic-era naval service was a death-filled nightmare. Sounds really boring. Anyways, I thought since Joe's such a big fan that people on Twitter were trending about this dumb film.
Yeah, it's a great film, which to revisit, go watch it if you haven't yet. But I digress.
Yeah.
So yes, he's correct. I think what some people might find boring about the film is that it spends a lot of time focusing on life at sea and how awful it is, frankly, at least for the time period that this film is set in during the Napoleonic Wars. It has a lot of the, obviously conversations between officers and various ranking officials, the life at sea, doldrums at sea, just about everything you can think of. And there's not much action, right? It bookends at either end of the movie with an action sequence, but everything else in the middle, it's more of the drama of life on the high seas.
Let me ask you guys this. Nate, have you seen this movie, Master and Commander?
Maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. Would you be willing to watch Master and Commander if Joe watched Twilight?
His prison sentence is a lot shorter than mine is.
Yeah, but yours doesn't sparkle.
Yeah,
that's true.
You'll be a better person for having watched Master and Commander.
I feel like he's getting the better end of that deal, honestly.
Okay, hold on. So the hot take here
that should be a Twitter poll.
Is the new hot take here? Are you trying to say that Twilight is a better film than Master and Commander?
I'm saying if I have a limited amount of time and I am forced between the lesser of two evils, I'm probably going to take Twilight, yeah.
Oof.
Sorry, Joe.
It's the wrong choice, but I still respect you, Nate.
Yeah, I want listener feedback on that. Let us know what you guys think, Twilight or Master and Commander. And let us know if you'd like Nate and Joe to watch those films, and then we can review them quickly on the next episode. So let's go ahead, Nate.
I was just going to jump in and... So Joe put together this list of movies for us. How did you do this, Joe?
Yeah, Nate, I wish I had a well thought out process for how I came up with this list of 5 movies. Guys, I really didn't. I came up with this list of movies in probably under a minute, just thinking of films, looking back over the many years that we've been watching these, and determining, okay, are these really all that bad? Now, there's one on here that I admittedly have not seen, but I know it's such a hot button topic in filmography, if you will, that I did want to include it on here. And Garrett, Nate, you both have seen the particular movie I'm referring to, which we will get to a little bit later in this episode. But yeah, so to answer your question, there was really no rhyme or reason to this. It was just movies I was thinking back on, some of which I have not seen in quite a while, and happen to think, are these really as bad as we remember them to be?
Yeah. Okay, Nate. So let's start with number 1 here. Number 1 is going to be Daredevil. Now, we're not talking the Netflix series. We're talking the Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner movie.
2003. Yep.
So, brief synopsis. If you've seen the show or haven't seen the movie, basically, Matt Murdock is he's a lawyer.
Yep.
Has a chemical accident when he's a child. He's blind. Basically, kind of heightens his senses. He's able to basically have superpowers through sonar.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yep.
And he basically has a relationship with Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, and he's basically trying to take down the Kingpin, played by Michael Clark Duncan, while he tries not to get killed by Bullseye, played by Colin Farrell.
Exactly.
Let's start with this. So basically the premise is a superhero movie, right? Positives. What positives did you have in this film?
Positives about it. I actually liked the costume for Daredevil.
Okay.
I am not necessarily going to be agreed with on that from what I could see online when I was doing some research about it. But yeah, overall, I thought the costumes were actually pretty good. I thought that it had, maybe a bit more gritty of a tone at times, which I thought was pretty cool overall. Okay. You could tell, I think, in terms of when this film came out, that they were probably leaning into that darker edge that we've addressed this in previous episodes as well. Leaning into a bit more of a darker interpretation. Now, that being said, of course, Daredevil's actually a pretty dark character, even from the comics. So I liked that. The fight sequence at the end with Elektra, between Bullseye, Daredevil gets kind of knocked out, incapacitated for a while. That's actually, a lot of it's pulled from the comics, and that portion of it, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, guys, but that's a pretty faithful part to the comics as well, with the end fight sequence for the actual comic books that they based that movie on, or at least parts of the movie on. So some good things. Overall, I remember not hating this movie.
Yeah.
I just think when compared to many superhero movies of the time, that's where it kind of falls flat in a lot of ways. But what do you guys think? What about positive things that you guys remember about it?
I really enjoyed the final fight with Michael Clark Duncan.
Nice.
I like
R.I.P.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I thought it was an interesting concept. Fire sprinkler goes off to just an interesting setting element. But I remember that being probably the most memorable part of that whole movie.
Nice.
And that's it.
And that's it. Fair enough.
I won't lie. I kind of liked this movie. When I first saw it, I'm sure if I went back and really gave it a strict rewatch, I would think it definitely is not as good as other Marvel movies this time.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you go back and watch like Bryan Singer's X-Men. I don't think it's as good as the rebooted X-Men with like Michael Fassbender as Magneto.
Mm-hmm.
I first off, I didn't like his hairdo. He's got like the frosted tips and it's spiked, so I thought his hair was kind of bad.
Fair enough, yeah.
I enjoyed, this was the first time I didn't know about Daredevil, so this is my first time seeing Daredevil. I thought he was kind of a cool superhero. I liked the charm he had with Jennifer Garner. Obviously, they would go on to get married, and I think get married, at least be together. I didn't really care for their seesaw battle, where they both end up balancing on the seesaw together.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of lame, but I thought that their sonar on the playground with this cane hitting the equipment was really fun to watch. I agree. Michael Clark Duncan, size-wise, definitely fits. I did not think Kingpin was black. I don't think that matters. I think Vincent D'Onofrio is better from the series.
Okay, yeah.
And ultimately, I think that Jennifer Garner did really good. I think that it was an okay movie. It came in. I think it came in after X-Men, after Spider-Man, kind of came in before Elektra.
It did.
So it wasn't one of the bigger name Marvel superheroes at the time. But I thought for what it was okay.
I thought the sonar was interesting in this movie. I thought the concept and the visualization of what he perceives, not sees, but perceives the environment in it was really cool. The way they did that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's kind of cool too is he compared to Spider-Man and really compared to X-Men, because in the X-Men movies with Bryan Singer, you don't really get a lot of the backstories of these superheroes. And then with Spider-Man, you get how he becomes a superhero. With you meet Matt Murdock already as Daredevil, but you kind of get his backstory. And I thought that was kind of neat how he becomes blind due to that. I think it's a chemical spill.
Yep, it is.
And I think that he might be the first kind of superhero that we get he's already established, but we get his backstory. Because, like I said, I don't think you get Logan's backstory in the Bryan Singer X-Men film. I think you just get.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and rewatch. I don't think
you get a lot of their backstory. So I think that was kind of a neat aspect of this movie.
In the second one, they kind of allude.
This came out before X-Men 2, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was the same.
Yep.
It's the same year, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know when. Yeah, theatrically, Daredevil might have been before. I'd have to check on that. Not that matters a whole lot, I guess, but yeah. Overall, any more positive aspects about it before we move on?
Not many.
Nope.
Not many. So let's segue from that. What didn't you guys like about this movie?
I wrote down 2 notes for this one. Toothpick kill.
Okay.
I thought that was a little bit extreme for Bullseye. And then also, what I didn't like visually from like the visual effects is the use of the batons and how he could kind of act like Spider-Man in some sense with his batons. Which I know he can do that in the comics, but the way they transfer that to screen was not very well done.
Okay.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I would say, I mentioned earlier that overall I actually like the costumes and the feel of it, with the exception, and I've saved this for now, of Bullseye, actually. Gosh, I do not like his character design in this movie. I think it's way over the top. I don't necessarily think that Colin Farrell did a bad job of his portrayal as Bullseye. He chews the scenery a little bit, goes a bit over the top at times, but just his costume design with a target kind of etched into his forehead.
I agree. I agree. He's by far the worst part of this film.
Yeah.
In fact, this might be the first film I saw with him in it. I just pulled up his filmography. I know that I know he's not the villain, but he kind of plays an antagonist in Minority Report, which I really like that movie.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool movie.
But I don't know if I saw that in the same timeline as this, or if I would have recognized that that's Colin Farrell at the time. This might be the first movie where I knew that was Colin Farrell.
Nice.
Because he's also in Phone Booth. And have you guys seen Phone Booth?
A long time ago.
Yeah, I thought that was an okay movie. But, again, not anything popular. This movie, I think, helps make him because his next movie is SWAT. And SWAT really makes him a household name and puts him kind of on the map.
Yeah, I remember I really liked that movie back in the day.
I didn't think he was a good villain in this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan.
Because and granted, I might be wrong here. Isn't Bullseye in Suicide Squad?
Yes.
I have not seen it.
Will Smith.
That's Bullseye?
Yeah,
Deadshot.
Deadshot.
Is it Deadshot?
Because we're talking
yes.
DC versus Marvel right now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Never
mind.
The hate.
It's not like they Marvel DC copied one another.
Yeah, no.
Like Aquaman and Mariner.
We'll have to do that sometime. Oh, Aquaman. Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll have to save that for another topic.
Bunch of nerds.
Okay.
How about this? What would you change in this film?
Yeah, overall, I would change a couple things. I do like they explored his backstory a little bit, Garrett.
Yep.
They shouldn't have done it as much. I think they should have obviously addressed the fact of who he is, how he gets to be this way, why he's blind. Certainly explain those things, but don't dwell so much on those, like the flashback sequences and trying to explain that. I kind of trust, hey, Rookie.
Rookie says hi, everybody.
Rookie says hi. Try and trust the audience to be able to make those leaps a little bit more. And also, I didn't really buy into the romance as much between Elektra and Matt Murdock. I probably would have, I don't know, either toned it down for what they were trying to do or rewritten that aspect of it in some way. What do you think?
I think the plot is just way too convoluted. We've got 2 heroes, 2 villains, and you're trying to do it in the first movie you're introducing an unknown character for the most part. There's just way too much going on. In this one movie, I think.
I agree.
It's just like slaps it all in the face right away. It's like trying to drink out of a fire hose.
Yeah.
Too much.
I agree. It is a lot to take in within the amount of time that they have. Now, I have heard that there is a director's cut that, while not necessarily, going to do the movie a lot of additional favors in how it's been received, that it's still much better than the original. Have either of you guys seen that? Because I have not. I have not seen the director's cut of it. I guess it helps fill in some blanks. It helps tie some scenes together that might have helped the cohesion of the movie a little bit, or cohesiveness of the movie. What do you think, Eric?
Things I would change?
Yes, things you would change.
Well, the problem is my thought process on Daredevil now always goes straight to the TV show. Okay? And so because the TV show is so good and it's darker, I would almost change every aspect of the movie to make it just a TV show. Or I would just get rid of the movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because the TV show basically is so far superior than the movie is. As far as character developments, the villains are better. And I really like the guy that plays Matt Murdock. And I like, that, I don't know, I like that it's an origin story.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think compared to, just as you mentioned, the show versus the movie. Now, the show, to be fair, it has the time to develop that a little bit more. But I agree. I think they handle an origin very well in that first season of Daredevil. And the cinematography for the fight sequences in Daredevil across all 3 seasons are insane. They are amazing. Yep. I know we're veering a little ways away from the movie, but TV show is phenomenal for that.
I also like that he gets the crap kicked out of him all the time because he's like scrapping in the street day in, or night after night.
Yeah,
and it's more grounded in reality.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we acknowledge. That's the way like reboots have gone. They show the bruises on the people, whether it's the James Bond,
that's right.
Royale,
yep,
Christian Bale from Batman, and now obviously Matt Murdock in the Daredevil series.
Question for you guys: do you think, if this movie existed in a vacuum, so to speak, so let's say we didn't have X-Men, we did not have Spider-Man, that both of which came out before this movie did, how do you think our perceptions of it would have changed? Do you think we'd still consider it to be, this movie wasn't all that great? Or do you think when we would not have had so recently a very positively received X-Men and Spider-Man movie, if we would have suddenly been like, oh, hey, that was a pretty good superhero movie?
I think it would not have been as well received. I don't think non-comic book reading people would have an understanding of who Daredevil is. Okay? I also don't think Ben Affleck, at that time in his career, would have pulled this off.
Okay.
I know that he's Daredevil,
yep,
and I know that he pulls off the movie, but I don't think if you let off with him in the Marvel Universe being a superhero, he's kind of in 2003 considered still kind of Matt Damon's sidekick, right? To be fair. He's not really having the career that he has later on, in his life.
I think differently. I think it would have set the bar. It would have set the bar, however low that was at the time.
Fair enough.
And then each subsequent story would have raised that, or movie, Spider-Man would have raised it, so far. But when you set the bar that high, and then you come in with a movie like that, and then you get kind of a negative connotation to it. So
yeah, fair enough. Definitely. I'm inclined to agree with you, Nate. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I wondered if we didn't have these directly to compare to. Now, I'd have to, once again, double-check for some of the other superhero movies that had come out in the late 90s. But, that being said, I think it would have stood a chance to be maybe considered a better comic book movie than what it is if they couldn't directly compare it to its predecessors.
Yeah. So what's your final verdict? Is this movie as bad as we remember it?
Nate says yes.
Garrett says yes.
Joe says yes.
Yeah, so Daredevil is as bad as we remember it. Okay? Next movie, Joe.
Yeah.
You start with this one. Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace.
Star Wars Episode 1.
Yes.
What are the positives of this film?
Quite a few positives for me, anyway. Overall, I like how they expanded the story of the Jedi. It gives you way more background to them. It introduces you to many more Jedi. Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, two of my favorite Jedi in the series. One of my favorite villains in the entire franchises, also from this movie, Darth Maul. I think, having been the age I was 10 when this movie came out. So I was definitely the target demographic for this. Well, we all were the target demographic for this movie when it came out. But seeing Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon lightsaber duel side by side throughout the film, and of course culminating in the battle against Darth Maul, was the coolest thing I had ever seen. It really sets the tone apart from the original trilogy in terms of the fluidity of the combat and how stylized it was. Now, some people hate that about this movie. Some people don't like the fact that they're flipping around and that it's a lot more faster paced. They like the fact that in the original trilogy, they're designed to more tell a story in those lightsaber duels. It's not so much about the crazy action, it's about the conflict between Luke and Vader a lot of the time. I respect that too. But still, being a 10-year-old seeing this film, it was the coolest thing ever. And still going back and rewatching this, I've watched this movie many times. My daughter's 4. She loves Star Wars. And for a while, we were just watching these on repeat. So I've seen this very recently. And I still love this movie. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit to whether or not we still like it or not. But
positives, I really enjoyed the expanse on the Jedi universe and what they were beforehand. Because you have like no inclination of what Jedis did really in the first original 3 at all. They don't really get a whole lot into the lore. You have no idea of like the grand scope of the whole universe at that point. So yeah. I think they did that very well.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that's interesting about this trilogy is there's actual actors in this, like good actors. That's not to knock on Harrison Ford, but you're talking Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman. You've got some really solid actors in there.
It's supporting cast, too, from there. Yeah. You've got Samuel L. Jackson, of course. Right. You've got, oh my gosh, is it Senator Palpatine?
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, definitely a great actor as well.
You have, they went a little bit different with some bigger name people to kind of carry the film here. I thought other positives in this movie. I thought, Joe, like you said, Darth Maul is probably now the second most iconic Sith behind Darth Vader, just because of his look and his dual wielding kind of a staff lightsaber sword, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Thought that was good. I thought the graphics were great. I know that people will hate the graphics because they're almost too CGI, and I know that that's a huge criticism of the prequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. But if you also think about it, to be fair to George Lucas, had he had the technology and the money to do the original trilogy like that, he would have. The original trilogy was supposed to look like that, right? So I'm not going to knock him on CGI. I thought that was fine.
Yeah. And I was going to jump in on that, too. I'm glad you brought that up, because when comparing just the original 3, I like Phantom Menace from an effects standpoint better than the following 2, because they still merge practical effects with CGI in the first film.
Yeah.
By the time you get to Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, of course, with Revenge of the Sith, they've abandoned a lot of the practical effects for green screen all the way.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they still retain some of those large sets, the practical effects in Phantom Menace, when in the later films they abandoned them.
Well, and Nate, you brought up as a positive, and Joe, you too, the expanse of the Jedi lore, and to really show you how big the Council was and how big, how prevalent Jedi were. Mm-hmm. I think it's just to show you what the Republic was like. And it kind of starts to sow the seeds of the politics of the time, where you don't really get the politics in the original trilogy because the Empire's already established. On our first episode, Joe and I break down from Republic to Empire. So if you haven't listened to that, we kind of debate how the Star Wars universe goes from Republic all the way through to basically Return of the Jedi with the Empire.
Exactly.
And I think that showing the Republic that this civilization or these people's lives were totally different. Just a generation before, 2 generations before, Anakin turns to Darth Vader. Now, I've got probably more negatives than positives.
Fair enough.
So go ahead, Joe. Let's start with you. Negatives.
Sure, negatives. Overall, Anakin's way too young. Don't make Anakin this young of a protagonist. I know we're trying to see his origins. I know we're trying to understand how someone goes from being a Jedi and the most powerful Jedi to one of the most powerful Sith Lords. I know that they want to explore that, but Anakin's way too young. It presents a couple of issues. One, I don't think we get... I'm trying to think of a better way to say it, but I'll just say it this way. As cool of a character by making him so young. Obviously, we get some cool things he does. The pod race, which also I would say is a positive of the movie. I like how it was almost Star Wars Mad Max in that scene, which was pretty cool. So you still get some things developing his character. The battle sequence at the end when he's able to blow up the droid control ship, of course. But still, why not make him older? Why not make his age the age he was in Attack of the Clones as his age in this first movie, in Episode 1? It solves a couple things. First of all, relationship with Padme. Gets a little weird when you view it from the first movie into the second movie and beyond into the third.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, if Anakin was older from the outset, was the same age as Padme, you'd be able to see Anakin develop and already be able to maybe be in the role of a Jedi a little bit more, sprinkle in some backstory information, and then it doesn't make that quite as weird as what it is. So that's something that comes to mind. I would say it starts to veer, for me, it veers a little bit into too much CGI, but once again, practical effects, they're still able to balance that. Overall, I know that some of the sequences, I don't want to be too hard on her character, but Natalie Portman's portrayal of Padme in this movie feels kind of wooden at times. I think what she was probably trying to do is the fact that she's using a body double throughout this film as well. So obviously she's the queen, but she's trying to act as the bodyguard and the handmaiden at the same time.
Well, I think it's Keira Knightley.
So it is. You're correct. Yeah. Great call out there as well. Yeah. So that's less of a... I don't want that to be as much of a criticism. I think she was doing what was expected from her character to do. But it seems jarring sometimes to go back and see someone as good of an actress as Natalie Portman deliver that kind of a performance. So.
Yeah. Nate, you looked at me funny when I said Keira Knightley. I know my queen's body doubles. Okay, you just wait. I want to go next, Nate, because I know that you wrote that note down. And I don't want to take that one from you. I think first and foremost, Joe, you forgot Jar Jar Binks.
I did for a reason. Go ahead.
How did we forget that?
Yeah, so I did not forget. Go ahead.
Okay,
jump in.
So I think Jar Jar Binks is a huge negative to this film. Not just story-wise, which Joe and I pinned the entire downfall of the Republic on Jar Jar Binks in our first film, or our first podcast episode. I think that his character, I know they were trying to do something funny. They're trying to do something with, bring in a younger generation, kind of Ewokish in a way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people also think Return of the Jedi was the worst of the original trilogy, and a lot of people will say The Phantom Menace is the worst of the prequel trilogy. I think when they do these campy characters, it's funny, it's ha-ha, but really they don't add anything to the story. He does not add anything to the story. His character brings nothing. You could have erased his character, still gone through the Gungan city, still ended up in the same situation. You don't need Jar Jar Binks in this film. And I think that he really just more annoys everybody. Some other negatives I have. I don't like the pod racing.
You do not like the pod racing?
No.
Okay, why is that? I'm just genuinely curious.
Yeah, because I don't like Anakin Skywalker in this
Okay.
film. I agree with you. I don't like him being a boy. Mm-hmm. I need that relationship between him and Padme if it's going to be so important that he's going to tear down everything in 2 films to get to where he's at. I just need to know that the seeds are actually planted in this film versus kind of, I don't know, a young boy who has a crush on his babysitter, going into the second one. Right. So I need him to have a bigger role because I just don't, I don't know, I don't think he was a good part of the film. He clearly never came back. I don't remember another thing that kid was in.
Yeah, I think people collectively just hated him, which is really unfortunate. I mean, I think his trajectory as an actor and his life trajectory, he ended up getting in a lot of trouble within the past few years. And obviously, you can't blame his life decisions on outside forces there. But I think a lot of people were very hard on Jake Lloyd for being a child when he did this. And same with the guy who played Jar Jar, too.
Well, and to be fair, Hayden Christensen's career trajectory also bombed shortly after Jumper, right?
Right.
So
I like that film. I give it a thumbs up.
I did too. I like that film as well. I also like Rachel Bilson a lot, and she's a great part of that film. So, any negatives, Nate, on your side?
Yeah, I hate Naboo, the planet as a whole. I don't know what to quite put my finger on there, but the Gungans, they're just fat fish to me. I really don't care for them. It just wasn't an interesting setting on such a small scale to have like the Trade Federation over this one planet, and you've got this huge, enormous galaxy, and this is all we're focusing on. And then to be at the age we were, to follow like a story with like a bunch of politics, you get lost in it. Who cares when you're that age?
See, I would think if you'd remake it today, I want that. I think they could delve more into the politics of this because, and I don't know if, Nate, you must not listen to our first episode.
Maybe we'd appreciate it more.
Yeah, maybe you should re-listen to the first episode. We explained this to you. I think the politics was great. I think in a world of Game of Thrones now where everybody likes that backstabbing, this could have been great. Like there is a world out there where Star Wars can get nitty-gritty quick. And I think I'm here for that if they ever do it, which they won't because Disney owns it. But there's a world where that politics, that the rise of Palpatine would be a great story to tell, like a series that focuses on him.
Yeah,
I think would be an awesome character.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point there, kind of about how Anakin should have been older, you need to focus on that dynamic between, I think, Obi-Wan and Anakin from the outset, because from the very first moments of A New Hope in Episode 4, by the time Luke meets up with Obi-Wan, you instantly understand that there is a connection between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and obviously through the future films from there you learn Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father and things of that nature. So as much as I like Qui-Gon, he's one of my favorite Jedi in this franchise overall, I think this first film, if you were to go back and rewrite, you've got to have Obi-Wan and Anakin be the central focus, with Anakin being older, and dig into the politics. I'm with you, Garrett. Dig into the politics a little bit more.
So, are you saying get rid of Qui-Gon?
Yeah, I mean,
he's one of your favorites.
I know, but from a story servicing perspective, I think you need to focus immediately on Obi-Wan and Anakin from the outset, because what falls flat for me by Episode 3 is how their relationship has gotten to this point, subsequently deteriorated, and then also with Anakin and Padme, you need to build that up from the very beginning, not as a weird, very young child flirting with his babysitter. I like that analogy.
Okay.
Make them the same age, make them older, and understand why he's willing, like you said, why he's willing to tear apart the galaxy to save this woman. You've gotta focus on that stuff.
Okay, so you're talking about erasing the young Anakin, which means erasing his origin story. And I think you could flash back his origin story. I think you could flash back pod racing. I really do. I don't think you have to get rid of pod racing. I don't think it needs to be like a 30-minute scene in the film, though.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
I think that you could get rid of him being a slave. You could just mention it. He can have a flashback of his mother. His mother can still exist in the future films as, the Attack of the Clones, or at least a stand-in for his mother being kidnapped. I think you could. I think you could start him off already being a Padawan to Obi-Wan and just flash back his story.
Yeah.
I've got one more big one, which might be the most contentious of the first movies there.
Yeah.
And it's metachlorians. I think it's the first time that it's mentioned about how you rate a Jedi's ability to touch the Force, right?
It's over 9,000.
Yeah. So I know people are hot on this issue as far as in the original 3, it's more of a spiritual thing and your connection to the Force.
Yeah.
And then they have like this physical, biological term to where it doesn't really relate to how in tune with nature and the world you live in. And it's just you're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah.
And I know people did not like that. It was not well received.
I'm glad you brought that up. I agree. I think removing the mysticism of the Force a bit was a big mistake.
Leave it a question mark. People enjoy that.
Exactly.
Yes, to some degree. But if you're going to expand the Jedi, the problem is, in the original trilogy, we only have really, 4 total Force users. That's Obi-Wan, Luke, Yoda, and Darth Vader. 2 of which get killed, really 3 of which die, right? If you're going back into a time where there's a much larger, thousands of Force users, I think you have to have a way to distinct who's a Force user from a non-Force user, and this is the best thing they can come up with. And they had to come up with something. And that's something that I have an argument against. I think it's the Last Jedi. Is that the crappy one that just came out, Last Jedi?
Oh, Rian Johnson's
8. Yeah.
The one that we don't like because of the ability that I don't know, anybody can grab a broom from across the room, which we'll get to someday. I don't know. dislike the midichlorians. I think they have to have something in there to differentiate the Force user from a non-Force user. Because you're talking about expanding the number of Force users from 4 in a 3-movie trilogy, 4 going to thousands. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's fair enough. I think, yes, from a storytelling perspective, especially for a lot of people going in, I think, to casually watch the movie, yeah, I think there is a way that's needed to explain very easily for people to wrap their head around how he was able to definitively identify Anakin as being so potentially powerful.
I think it's some sort of like plot hole in the story as far as how he was, we mentioned this, immaculately conceived by the Force.
I also don't like
and
that.
And it's something that didn't quite make it into the script. And they're midichlorians did it. And that's it's like, we really should have taken a little more time writing that part out of this.
Yeah, we just come up with something we just create it later, like he just got born because of blah. You know?
Yeah.
I will say this though too. So kind of similarly to Daredevil having to exist in the realm where the TV show is, Phantom Menace obviously exists in a realm where we had movies come before it and movies come after it.
Very true.
I do think that those that were fans, like that grew up with the original trilogy, disliked the prequel trilogy. We grew up with the prequel trilogy. We seem to like it more than the sequel trilogy. It just kind of seems to be like Phantom Menace is aging better than it was prior to the new trilogy coming out.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I'm going to say this movie is better than what I thought it was the first few times I saw it. And I've seen this movie a couple different times. I don't know where I would rank it as far as top Star Wars film. It's definitely not in top. It's probably at the bottom. It's not the worst.
Right. It's not the worst. Right, I agree.
Mr. Johnson is not the worst. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this movie as bad as you remember it?
No. I think no. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, I enjoy this movie.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's not bad. It's like I said, it's got a good cast. Qui-Gon's a great character.
Yeah.
Obi's a great character.
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul's a good
awesome.
villain.
Yep.
It's good. Okay, moving on to Batman and Robin.
That's right.
For those of you out there who are thinking, is this the one with the Riddler? It's not. This is the one with...
It's not with Two-Face either.
Yep.
So...
Yep, this is the one with...
I don't think that.
Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy,
Yep.
and the first incarnation on movie of cinema, Bane. Okay? Stars George Clooney as Batman, Chris O'Donnell reprising his role as Robin, and Alicia Silverstone showing up as, is it Batwoman or Batgirl? What do they call her?
Oh gosh, I'd have
Probably woman. With no basis on facts at all.
Yeah. Nate, this movie was not made today. So it's probably Batgirl then. I will double check that. So you guys start. What are some positives of Batman and Robin?
Gosh. Okay, this list was a lot shorter than the positives and some of the other ones that I've got. I tried to be very gracious about thinking of this as a positive. The slightly more lighthearted tone. In a way, it reminded me a bit of Adam West, which was actually the very first version of Batman that I remember seeing.
Sure.
Are you guys familiar with Adam West's Batman? Yep. Very campy,
yeah.
Boom bang pow, right, with the special effects.
Yeah.
Very over the top and not at all serious.
Yeah, it's better than this movie.
So, it is. I agree. Like I said, I'm trying to be gracious with my positives here. So, in a way, it reminded me of Adam West's very loosely, admittedly, but I liked the lighthearted tone at times that they were trying to go with. Man, Robin's costume, maybe? I thought it was okay.
Maybe.
I'm reaching here, guys.
Okay, hold on,
what did you guys think over positives?
Let me take over positives. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie.
Okay, yeah.
I liked Mr. Freeze. Now, again, I've said I'm very pro Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was my guy growing up. I liked him. I don't know. I thought he was kind of cool. I liked his character. I like that they're expanding the universe. I know that with the addition of Robin and Batman Forever, which we can talk about here in a little bit, that they had to add 2 villains to make them both be able to fight somebody. So I get
right.
that. But I did like Mr. Freeze as a villain. I liked the idea of Bane. I clearly liked the other Bane way better than this Bane.
Yeah. Very true.
I like the addition of Batgirl. It is Batgirl, by the way. I looked that up.
Oh, nice.
I think it was okay. I don't know. They're not a lot of positives, to be fair.
But
I will say this. I think Schwarzenegger is a positive. So unless you guys are going to argue that he's negative, let's have that argument. Because I think he's good.
Oh, go ahead, Nate.
I'm just going to say the only good thing about this is that they get to carry the Batman and Robin name in the world that they live in.
Okay.
To this film.
Their titles.
Yeah, exactly.
How about this? Okay, so let's compare that. Okay. The first two Batman movies with Michael Keaton are definitely, let's hold this aside. So let's take Batman and Robin and let's compare it to Batman and Forever. Okay? I think the problem is Batman. I think George Clooney, so let's go to negatives and what we'd change at the same time. There's a lot. I think that George Clooney playing Batman is the problem because he's not an action figure. He's never been an action figure. I can't think of any other movie where he is an action figure.
From Dusk Till Dawn?
But is that an action film? I mean, I know what it is. It's a hunting vampire movie in a bar, but they're in a bar.
I get where you're coming from with that. Yeah, it's definitely more of an action role than anything else short of Batman and Robin that comes to mind for George Clooney.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I don't think he's as big of an action film, and maybe Michael Keaton wasn't either at the time. But like Val Kilmer had done some other films where I thought, hey, I can believe him playing Batman. Like I thought Val Kilmer was an okay Batman. I don't think George Clooney's an okay Batman.
Michael Keaton was actually, I think, more of a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Before that. Actually.
Yeah, and I think, I guess, to be fair, for almost the history of these movies, the Batman franchise seems to be loaded with people that everyone questions, why did they cast this person? I don't know if, Michael Keaton, I think you're right. I think he was more of a comedic role. Before that, obviously, Heath Ledger, we've already talked about his role as the Joker. People were thinking, why are you casting Heath Ledger? And they nailed their roles. So George Clooney going into this maybe seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
DC is just like riding the Batman Golden Goose for all of time.
Right, but I mean, this particular...
It always makes money.
But this particular film, the problem is, this is way more over the top. I mean, let's be fair. Jim Carrey as the Riddler, who I really like as well, way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that they would do a new Batman in the new Christopher Nolan universe with the Riddler in it, with Jim Carrey playing the Riddler, because I think that would be great.
That'd be cool.
I think Two-Face was way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they went way campy with these guys. Let's be fair. Bane is an abomination in this film.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's way more comic book-like. As far as this big monster, or at least some incarnations of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of the
cartoon.
big hulking version of him, sure. But in terms of his characterization beyond that, the entire other part of his character,
right?
Not at all.
Yeah,
like
Bane is supposed to be Batman's equal, both on like mentally and physically,
right.
and they forgot the mental part of it in this entire film.
Mental part of anything.
Yeah.
Right. I think Poison Ivy. I don't know. I don't know. Go ahead.
I would say maybe a positive for Poison Ivy. I think the villains, okay, just approach it from this perspective. I think the villains in Batman and Robin were far better than Batman and Robin.
Oh,
in
sure.
terms of the actual characters and how those characters are received.
No,
I think them as villains are much better.
Yeah, I think that I don't even know the guy that played Bane. Doesn't matter. But Bane, Schwarzenegger, and Uma Thurman playing Ivy are definitely better than Clooney, O'Donnell, and Silverstone. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Was Uma Thurman up and coming?
Yeah, she would.
I don't think
she wasn't. She was not.
She hadn't done Kill Bill or anything yet.
Yeah,
I think she was still up and coming.
I bet she regrets that.
I'm sure they all regret playing this film.
Yeah, right.
I think Schwarzenegger probably paid a pretty penny to be in this. I think one problem is, and this goes back to Forever, I think Chris O'Donnell as Robin's horrible. I don't remember. I mean, I know whose podcast it was. I won't shout it out. There was a podcast I was listening to with he was interviewing Matt Damon, and they were talking about up and coming, and they were in a lot of the same movies together, like School Ties. And he was talking about people he would compete against with a lot of different roles, and somebody he always competed against was Chris O'Donnell. You know, and they always went up for the same position.
Okay,
which was kind of interesting when you think about it, because. You know, if you think about School Ties and some of the other movies that they were all in together, and Chris O'Donnell just ends up, he has a decent career to start, right?
Yeah, that's true.
He kind of gets buried after this, and rightfully so. This was horrible.
This was a terrible movie. Oh god, the hockey. I brought this up before the podcast. The ice skating. And that scene against Mr. Freeze.
What killed the dinosaurs, Joe?
The Ice Age!
Right.
And then Chris O'Donnell, like, it's the hockey team from hell! At the beginning, worst scene in the movie for me, particularly, but...
Yeah, I just... the whole Mr. Freeze theme, and then every icicle just looks so plastic and fake in this movie. Oh, it's hard to watch.
It's hard to watch.
One positive of this film, the Alfred storyline, though. Alfred Pennyworth in this film, I think he's dying of a disease that Schwarzenegger's wife. Let's be fair. One of the reasons why I like Schwarzenegger is he's a likable villain to some degree. He's not just a villain for the sake of being a villain. He's trying to basically cure his wife, and she has this disease. Mm-hmm. And Alfred comes down with this disease. And Schwarzenegger's able to redeem himself at the end by basically getting the cure to Batman to save Alfred. And Alfred had been the butler, for those 4 films.
That's right. It was the same actor, wasn't it?
And I think that's kind of a positive, kind of nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked that part of it. I thought he was a really good butler. He's not Michael Caine as an actor, but here's the thing. I think he's a really good Alfred.
He's a good Alfred, though. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, Michael Caine is certainly fantastic in many roles that he's in addition to being Alfred. But I think I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately, but I think he did a great job portraying Alfred. Yeah.
How about this verdict? Is it as bad as we remember it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, too. And again, this is going to fall victim to the other things we talked about in the other movies. The fact they rebooted the franchise after this film. They did not keep going with it. Mm-hmm. They took, after this film, and it turned out to be a disaster, they rebooted it, and it was obviously way successful. To the point where you can't really compare the original Batmans to the reboots, right? Right. Granted, I think Christopher Bale can be taken down a notch in the new trilogy, but just the tone and the direction. Mm-hmm. All right, Nate. Movie number 4.
Waterworld.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, if you don't have a quick synopsis on this, the world is full of water, as the name implies. But what you see is like a post-apocalyptic world where people are living on kind of floating fortresses, and they're all kind of trying to just survive and find this hopeful place called land, wherever it is. And just kind of how society collapses between what are called the smokers, which are the people who hoard all the weapons and have all the gasoline and have the engines, and the other people who aren't as lucky to have those things, that are just kind of sailing or floating and trying to survive. But interesting world they build.
Yeah, it's Mad Max on water, essentially, is what it is.
Which sounds awesome. I'm not going to be as vocal on this one. This is actually the entry on our list I have not seen, although I do want to. But based on what you guys are telling me, that's a synopsis of a movie that I would watch that. You
need to watch it, because actually I think you'd like it, because to me, this movie, I think it's better than people give it credit for. So let me start with positives here. The cast. This is a movie with Kevin Costner, Dennis Hopper, right? They've got Kim Coates in this movie. This is a good film. Dennis Hopper as the villain's great.
Yes.
Especially when he gets the eye patch and he's smoking cigarettes and he can't see out of one eye. I mean, it's just, he's comical about it. He's dangerous about it. It's really good. I like Kevin Costner. I think he's fine. I'll get to negatives about him in a minute. The positives are, it was a different take. I mean, in today's climate change, this movie matters. If climate is really, if climate change is going to make it a threat, this movie is explaining to you. You might think post-apocalyptic world could be Mad Max. The reality is, Waterworld is probably a more accurate post-apocalyptic world than Mad Max is, based on melting ice caps and a lack of resources.
The other thing I thought of when I rewatched some of these clips is I thought kind of a steampunk type feel on how, like, the contraptions and how these boats worked, and the frigate that the smokers are on too.
Yes,
it has that kind of feel for me when I watch it. Are those all the positives that I have?
I thought his ship was really cool. I don't know if he named his boat. I can't remember it, but he's got a sailboat he uses.
Oh, okay.
And he's got it rigged up to just basically like launch out these huge sails when he needs to, which really takes the people with the engines by surprise. But that's what it basically comes down. It's those with engines versus those with not, like Nate said earlier. And basically it's just pillaging across anybody they can to find any resource, to find, I think they're called chitlins or chits or whatever it is, chits. I don't know, whatever the money is that they have. And again, like Nate said, it's to find land. What happens, though, is a young girl has a tattoo on her back, and her tattoo is supposed to lead people to land.
Okay.
And so she comes into contact with Kevin Costner's character, and he basically starts being a savior to her, right? Keeping her safe.
And at this time, he's just like a loner. He's a scavenger. He does everything himself, and that's why his boat, he's got like a big boat.
Yeah.
I'm talking master and commander and how many people it took to actually run the sails and do everything.
Okay.
He's got everything kind of automated to where it's like a one-man show, which is really
Right.
cool to watch.
Yeah,
that's really
it's neat. He's come up with a contraption. He drinks his own urine by like somehow, like
I've heard about
cleaning
that
it through a
scene.
system he
Yeah.
creates, right? He has paper. I know it sounds crazy, but like they try to sell things that you would think about, and paper is something that people don't have access to.
Okay.
So it's very valuable. He's got crayons. He's got a lot of things, right?
Nice.
They're just kind of weird to think about.
I like that. It reminds me of the scene from Book of Eli. I'm not
Yes.
sure if you guys have seen that, but at the very beginning, he's selling super common things, or he's trading for super common
Yes.
things that we take for granted. So that's cool. There's a scene like that too.
Negatives, Nate.
Negatives? You can tell it's a 90s movie.
Yeah,
Now?
I thought Kevin Costner having gills and webbed feet. So it's not just that Kevin Costner's the main guy.
Spoiler alert.
He's kind of a fish man.
Okay.
And so he can basically like survive underwater for longer periods of time, almost like he's mutated. And the reason why I have a problem with this is nobody else in the film is mutated. So if you're going to tell me over time that natural mutation would occur because we have to survive in water, I'll buy that. What I'm not buying is that he happens to be the only person that has mutated.
Yeah, they don't really get much into the supernatural portion of this, or the evolution of man.
No, I agree.
They just say, he's got gills, or what do they say when he gets into the place like, mutant!
Yeah, basically. Joe, I can't really say some more without spoiling it. So
you can spoil. That's totally. I haven't seen it by now, so spoil away. That's fine.
I don't like that they found land.
They did.
Yeah, at the end. Well, you guys should watch this together. I don't like at the end of the movie that they find land. I wish that this would have been like a really kind of a pessimistic view, and they're still just searching for it. I thought it would have been a better ending.
I really like your take on that, because I like that too. That he's kind of holding out hope for everybody when he dives down and he gets the dirt and dries it out. That he's kind of providing hope for everyone when he knows there's no hope for anyone and there is no land. I think that would have been a way cooler.
Yeah, because he's able to dive down and like go through cityscape as he's swimming and see what land used to be.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
so it's kind of neat. Again, if you need to see this,
I do. I need to check it out.
I thought it was kind of funny is the comparison of like motorcycles to jet skis. You got guys flying around on jet skis that are kind of supposed to be like, Mad Max motorcycles.
Yeah.
I don't know, just interesting stuff. And it's Mad Max on the water because they have these bigger boats that are basically like recalibrated to look like the machines of the guy playing the guitar. Not really a music thing, but like just weird boats put together to like attack be an attack force.
Nice. Okay, that sounds cool.
As far as what I would change,
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's kind of I think it's going to become more of a cult classic than people give it credit for. I don't know if I would change much more than beyond don't make him a mutant.
Yeah, what was the whole thing with like them? I know they're called smokers, and it's because I think it's just because they have boats that smoke, but they also literally have cigarettes everywhere.
Smoking everywhere.
Like they still have tobacco, and I don't know how that fit into the theme all that well, other than smoking
I haven't
cigarettes. Yep.
I haven't deep dived it, but I'm sure it's a take on health and climate and everything like that.
It's deeper theme than we thought.
Yeah, we can look into that.
There's more to it.
Yes. Verdict, Nate. I think this movie is better than I remember it.
Oh yeah, I'd watch it again for sure.
I've got a question for you guys.
Got it.
Because I don't know if this is true or not, but one of the facts I've heard for a long time about this movie is that Kevin Costner apparently paid the visual effects team to fix his receding hairline throughout the entire film. Is that just a movie myth, or did he actually do that? Because this came out, 95? This came out in 1995. What were visual effects teams even capable of in 1995? Like, having not seen this movie, I don't know if watching it you would actually notice
I think you can tell it's
hair
thinning.
Yeah, but he's got
sure.
longer hair though. Like he's got like a braid and stuff. It's kind of just weird hairdo he's got going on. Obviously, they don't have barbers.
I don't notice a CGI hairline.
Okay,
if that's your question.
That is kind of my question because
he's got a fade.
Effects in '95, while in '95, I'm sure people thought they were great. Going back and rewatching, obviously not everything holds up over time. So, yeah, I didn't know if it was a movie myth or if that was actually something that he paid his visual effects team to do or what.
Now that's going to be the only thing I want to look at whenever you watch the film.
Yeah, ruined the movie.
I don't remember that. Based on this photo that I'm pulling up, though, you tell me if it looks like it. I mean, I don't know. It looks like he's got some...
Definitely looks like a receding hairline, which is fine. Kevin Costner, just embrace it. My hairline's been receding since my early 20s, bro. It's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. I keep pulling it away from Nate. I don't...
that picture looks like they did nothing to fix his receding hairline. So, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately, again, Nate, I think you and I both agree, better than we thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
Final movie, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Positives, Nate.
It had Harrison Ford in it.
It did have Harrison Ford in it. Okay.
And anything else?
Miriam. And Miriam, the original from I'm blanking.
Yep, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Thank you.
Definitely. Those were two of my positives as well, certainly. It was a lot of fun seeing those two reunite on screen.
And I think it's your typical Harrison Ford being Indiana Jones. Yep. I don't think that character changed at all over time.
I agree with you. I think in terms of being faithful to his character, which is a theme we've talked about in other episodes, I think Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones feels exactly like Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones would in that role. I mean, he's conveying what he needs to. Obviously, older, of course. Karen Allen. Sorry, I looked up the actress's name who played Marianne Ravenwood.
So, I watched this movie last night, and guilty pleasure, I like this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good, though. We can talk about that.
You gotta wait for that section, man.
Positives, though. I like Ray Winstone.
Okay,
I like John Hurt.
I like John Hurt a lot in this movie. Yes.
So Ray Winstone, I think, was kind of a great sidekick. I think he calls him Indy. I really like that. They're kind of group that you kind of think they're buddies. Kind of turns on them towards the beginning of the movie, and they kind of have that relationship throughout as the antagonist. They kind of antagonize each other.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I like Shia LaBeouf. I was a very big Shia LaBeouf fan.
Me too.
A hot take. I thought he was going to be the next Tom Hanks. He had a really, really bright career ahead of him before he really, really messed it up. I thought he would have been a great natural person to take over this film franchise had it gone that route.
Yes.
Had he not gone the route he went, I thought he was a positive. Again, Indiana Jones, or Harrison Ford, Ray Winstone, Shia LaBeouf is. I don't really care much for Karen Allen. I don't think she needed to be in it. I know it's a callback to the first film.
Yeah.
I think you could have brought somebody else in. Go ahead.
Did you like Cate Blanchett as the villain?
No. To be fair, I didn't like the Russians. Okay. I like the historical Nazi battling that he does, and I know that you're making him older,
right? And they have to fast forward a little bit,
and I know that they have to move it forward into the Cold War. I just like the idea of him always tangling with the Nazis.
Okay.
I definitely. It's so tough because Last Crusade was so good, and him and Sean Connery were so good together. And then Marcus Brody's character was so good, and he's not in this film.
That's right.
Instead, Jim Broadbent is kind of in that role, and it's just not the same. I don't want to. That's a negative thing. Other positives of this, I like the archaeological dig. I liked him going through the college campus with the greasers versus the socials. You know, the fight at the little diner.
The diner.
I thought that was a great scene of him introducing himself to Shia LaBeouf. They had that conversation. The Russians are basically coming up to him to hand me the book, just like they go, hey, Dr. Jones, and him trying to get out of school. I thought that was really good stuff, really good callback. I don't know. Any other positives you guys have?
Oh, I think that pretty well sums up a lot of the positives that I had for the movie as well. Yeah.
Negatives, Nate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see your list there.
Yeah. Bullet point 1, ants.
I agree.
Oh, that seems awful.
Silly. And a lot of these don't have to do so much with the actors or
No.
their characters at all. It's the story direction that the director agreed to do some of these things.
I agree.
And then the horrible, in my opinion, the horrible CGI to go along with it just tore it up. And again, another, reverting back to a lot of practical effects. The original Indiana Jones, all these things are real sets with real physical elements to them. They're not all CGI'd on a computer. So.
Yeah, very true.
Second bullet point, vine swinging. Same point. The ridiculousness of that.
Yeah.
Hated it.
It was absurd.
Save your last
Don't
part.
steal
Save,
okay.
save your last
All
bullet
right.
point.
I'll give someone else a chance.
Let's discuss that. Hold on. Let's go to ants. So, I think there's a way to do the ants differently. So, when I think about the franchise The Mummy, they had those little beetles that would kind of do a similar thing to these ants. That they would just
that's right.
eat everybody. I think they could have done ants as just normal ants. That this guy could have fallen onto an ant trap and just was covered in them, making them look more realistic, and then not eating him to death, in one sitting. I think that would have been gross enough, scary enough. I think the ants could stay in it. I don't think they need to crawl up. They start crawling on top of each other to get to the top of the vine.
I think they jumped the shark a little bit on that one.
I totally agree. And I like the fact that there is a creature element that's scary. That's a theme throughout all the Indiana Jones.
Yep.
You have rats, you have all the bugs in
Yep.
Temple of Doom.
Snakes.
Snakes, of course, in the first one. We know he hates snakes. So I like the fact that I think they're kind of carrying that theme through. I agree also that the execution was not well delivered there at all.
And same thing, I agree with the vine swinging. It just had no place. And you could have easily done something different with that. I'll tell you, as far as negatives from me, Kate Blanchett, again, I said I didn't like the Russians. Mm-hmm. I guess it should have been positive. I kind of liked the nuclear fallout from the city, that kind of like nuclear town. Thought that was cool. But I really liked the callback to the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes.
Okay, I like that stuff. That's the stuff I like. I want more of that. And I feel like the problem with the negatives I have in this film is it seems that they went away from a lot of the stuff that made the original three great. And this will go to Nate's negative, so I guess, Nate, you can bring up this negative in a second. The mythology surrounding the religiosity of the previous three movies, I think, is missing in this film.
I would agree.
I liked the idea. I'm not saying the Ark of the Covenant's real. I'm not saying the Holy Grail is real. I liked the idea of him looking for these religious artifacts, while the Nazis, with their viewpoints and how we know what the Nazis think of religious artifacts, how he's hunting it to get to them before they do. I'm missing that in this particular film. Because, Nate, let's be fair. Bring up your point. What sucks about this movie?
Bullet point 3, aliens.
Right. To go from religion to aliens is a huge jump in my point.
Jump. Yeah.
For what his character is hunting for. It's like going from it's almost kowtowing to an audience in today's world to basically say, religion is absolutely bunk. And that's fine if it is. But the character himself, his dad grew up believing in the Holy Grail and hunting for it.
Yes.
He hunted for these artifacts. For all of a sudden, for him to go from religion to science, I have a problem with this character doing that.
I'm in agreement.
That
That pretty well sums it up.
I agree as well. I don't think we disagree about the topics we're bringing up right now and the themes. Also, to go along with those points, Nate, you mentioned the CGI, obviously along with the aliens. In those previous three movies, it's gritty. And a lot of that has to do, I think, with practical effects. But there's still a way to do that, even if you're using CGI. And yeah, I think they missed the mark with that here. It doesn't have that lived-in feel to it almost, where that gritty, down-to-earth, it was kind of, fate of the world hanging in the balance surrounding these religious artifacts. And I think that was very compelling. And I think we're missing that sense of urgency here a little bit. Obviously, yes, Indiana Jones needs to stop the Soviets from finding out the secret of the Crystal Skulls. I get it. But still, despite the world-ending implications you're supposed to feel about that, I never bought into it like I did with the Nazis finding the Holy Grail and how awful that would be if the Nazis found it first. Same with the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, that sense of urgency, that sense of how compelling it is for Indiana Jones to actually succeed at this, I think it's missing a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not to knock Kate Blanchett. I'm not saying I didn't buy her as a Russian. I'm not saying she wasn't a good villain. I don't know if I think she could be the main villain. I would think of her more as being the sidekick villain.
Okay.
Like the henchman, the number one. I think that would be interesting. I honestly would like to have seen John Hurt play the villain.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Do you know who John Hurt is, Nate?
No.
So
Enlighten me.
V for Vendetta?
Yep.
He's the prime minister.
Okay.
You know, he's the one that gives those passionate speeches about government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's also Harold, I think it's Moxley is his name, or Oxley in this film. I think he would have been the great villain. I don't know if he can play a Russian, but that's again to my point of why I have a problem with the Russians being there.
Okay,
and again, I know it's Cold War. What I think they could have done, because we do know that there were remnants of like Nazi holdovers of scientists and stuff like that. If you want to do the aliens, whatever. Make it like Nazi scientists who try to escape from it, who are like down in Brazil, or really, because this is kind of like where we went in South America here.
Yeah,
you could have had Nazis still involved in the storyline, trying to bring back the Third Reich, essentially, versus the Cold War. That's me nitpicking. But I don't know. Again, I don't like the jump from the religiosity to the science because it's not true to his character. Mm-hmm. Not because I don't believe in the science. Not that I don't believe in aliens, because we do, and we know they're there. I've seen UFOs. Another story.
You have to enlighten me on that.
I swear to God, I've seen one UFO in my life. I have no reason to explain what this thing was. Okay, seriously, no joke. Right outside my house. Swear to God. Again, for the character, I want that. I don't know what religious figure what he would have gone for, and maybe that's what it is, right? That the Holy Grail was such an end all be all for religious artifact that maybe they just couldn't come up with something else.
El Dorado, unlimited riches.
I would have been better with that. I would have been better if he's looking for the city of gold.
Exactly. keep it grounded. Something about bringing in the science, not even the science, the aliens of it. It really hinges on that for me. I agree. That would have been awesome. Like El Dorado, something grounded in mythology.
Yes, myth.
It's the wonders of the ancient world.
Yes.
It's not.
It's those kind of pulp era heroes, a lot of which inspired Indiana Jones as a character.
Yeah.
Those quests they would go on to find these ancient artifacts and these lost cities and a lot of these common themes and really common tropes throughout these stories. That's, I think, what people love about Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Bring that back in some way. And hopefully they will, because Indiana Jones 5 is a thing. We don't have, I don't think, any information on when that might actually be, begin filming or anything like that, but supposedly there's an Indiana Jones 5 in the works. So
final verdict. We agree that this movie's better than we thought it was?
I agree. I do still like the movie, barring the issues we've already talked about.
It's definitely the worst of the four, correct?
Oh,
agreed.
But I don't think
it's
acting-wise. I think it's just simply story.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's got one of the strongest casts overall, including primary and supporting characters of any of the films. It's
definitely more than two.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
I kind of think if you don't have the guy ripping the heart out of two, that two's overrated. Personally.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of two. Like, honestly, two barely makes it ahead of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this movie's better than we give it credit for.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think there's some CGI things that they just they were too campy with.
Yeah.
And they easily could have grounded it more in reality.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is just the nod to I think it's not a vault, but probably the hangar, right?
Yeah,
the large hangar
where the Ark is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the nod to all the artifacts and how it just gets put in a crate and just camouflaged in with everything else. Like, it makes you wonder, what else are they hiding in that very same hangar?
Well, the better part of that is it's not, a mile from a nuclear test site? That sounds great. I think that, let me ask you guys this then. So what are our thoughts on Shia LaBeouf? Because I liked him in this film.
I like him as well. I grew up watching, I'm trying to even Stevens.
Okay.
It was one of the very first things I saw him in. I do not hate all the Transformers movies. I like that first one.
I do like the first one a lot,
I like the first one he's in. So I don't hate Shia LaBeouf at all. I'm with you, Garrett. I thought his trajectory at first, he was going to be, like you said, the next Tom Hanks.
Yeah, he was Wolf of Wall Street too. He had a good career path going until he just went bananas.
Yeah, kind of.
Wall Street 2, not Wolf on Wall Street.
Sorry. Wall Street 2.
Yes, I really like that.
Sorry, you're right.
I liked him too. I'm with you guys on this one.
Cool.
So we know that they're going to have another Indiana Jones. After Indiana Jones 5, if they're ever going to pass the mantle, who's our next Indiana Jones? And then let's say this. Who do you want to be, what female lead do you want in this particular movie? What do you think, Nate?
I don't mind if they bring Shia LaBeouf back.
They're not going to bring him back. I just don't think they will. I think he's done. I don't know where this movie's going to situate in the timeline, but I have a hard time thinking they're going to bring Shia LaBeouf back.
What do you think about Michael Fassbender?
It's Indiana Jones?
Yeah, it's Indiana Jones.
Ooh. I do like Michael Fassbender. I was thinking of even like Hemsworth.
Okay, I think that's a great choice.
He's a little buffer than Indiana Jones, but I feel like his charm is there in a way that Harrison Ford's got it. What about Oscar Isaac?
Oh, good one to throw out there.
Yeah?
I think he'd do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he'd do a good job. I like that thought a lot.
How about female lead? Who could be a female lead in a new era of Indiana Jones? Because Indiana Jones got to be old.
I got it.
Okay.
Lauren Cohen.
Who?
Maggie from Walking Dead.
Yeah. She could be an archaeologist.
She's in a new show coming out here too, Whiskey Cavalier, I believe is the name of the show coming up here pretty soon. But I think she'd be a great female lead.
How about this? What if you were to transition this over to a female Indiana Jones? Now, I don't want to get into I don't want to get into the Laura Croft argument of Laura Croft versus Indiana Jones. Even that's essentially kind of what we're kind of not the same thing, but a female archaeologist, right? But let's just say a female Indiana Jones. I have no problem with a female Indiana Jones. I think that's a character that I would allow. I mean, that I would not allow, but that I would not gripe about a female taking over a male lead of Indiana Jones. I think it could be done very well.
Yeah.
Any ideas of who you think could play a female Indiana Jones?
I'm blanking.
Do you think Emma Stone would be good?
Ooh, she would be good. I was even going to say Jennifer Lawrence. I like Jennifer Lawrence.
Nice,
I think she's just a good actress.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like Emma Stone, though.
What about Bryce Dallas Howard?
Is that...
Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Most recently.
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. What about Chris Pratt? Speaking of Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. He's kind of the top pick for a lot of things right now.
Well,
I'd buy that.
He's got that look, though, in Jurassic Park, though. You can put a hat on him, and all of a sudden he is Indiana Jones.
He is Indiana Jones.
Can he crack the whip?
Yeah.
That's right.
I want to say Chris Pratt, sorry. Side note, I think he's playing a villain in an upcoming movie with Ethan Hawke about Billy the Kid.
Okay.
More on this potentially next episode. Let's not derail this too much.
Okay.
But I just thought it was interesting, Chris Pratt as a villain.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen him in a villain role.
No, I have not either that I can think of.
Yeah. But anyway, Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones, I think it's a good idea.
So to recap, we thought on this movie, we thought Daredevil was better or worse. What would we say?
That was a yes.
That was a better?
We all voted yes.
Phantom Menace, we voted yes. Mm-hmm. Batman and Robin voted no.
Nope.
Waterworld, we voted yes.
You and I voted yes.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, we voted yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, these are movies that are better than we think they were at the time, and that means we are recommending that you go out and watch them.
Yeah.
If you do end up going to watch them, please let us know what you think. We would like your feedback. You can get your feedback to us on Twitter at Alien and Cowboy. Email us at aliensandcowboys@gmail.com. We do love, like I said, love listener feedback. Go out there, give us a 5-star rating. Tell your friends, tell your family. Contact Joe on Facebook. Joe's running our Facebook page now.
Definitely.
He did put up the French Fencing Federation.
I did. I put that story up there. So if you guys want to follow the link directly from our Facebook page, definitely go on there, check it out. Give us a like. We'd appreciate it.
Everybody likes the FFF.
Yep.
We'll be back next week with you guys. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.